Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to Dove and Serpent Tarot. My name is Paul. If Capricorn is your sun, moon, or rising sign, this is your tarot card reading. Remember to hit the like button, leave a comment, consider subscribing to the channel, especially if this reading resonates with you. If there is anything you would like me to pray over or meditate upon or send positive energy toward, please let me know. Now, this is a general reading, so try to be open and receptive to whatever may come through during our time together. I am merely the messenger, and I ask you to connect directly with each of these cards and use your own intuition to take you beyond the details that I provide. And remember, Capricorn, that the most important part of any tarot reading is you. 5 of Swords. You're somebody who you really learn. This is a card of like life gives us a challenge. We have an interaction where somebody has to lose, you know. There's going to be a winner and a loser in some things. Something's either going to work or it's not going to work. I think you're really able to take a situation like that and find a way to gain from it. This is a card of a loss. This is a card of a defeat. Okay? We tried to do something and it kind of kicked our butt. Whether it's some kind of a competition with another person or you attempted to do something and you didn't succeed at it. Not yet, right? This is your ability to learn from those situations and to incorporate that new information and allow that situation, allow what happened to change you, to change the way your mind works, to change the way you think of something, right? And it's not like we like getting the obstacles. It's not like we enjoy that process, but you're able to take a situation like that and turn it into a benefit. Okay, so I want to put this card into a little bit of context, find out kind of what happened and what we did learn from it and how we're using that energy to move forward. Well, the 8 of Swords, okay. Don't make it too complicated. Don't overthink it. We have a Knight of Swords, more air energy. We have a Fool. We have a Chariot. And we have, I like that one, the Queen of Swords, right? A lot of air energy. Even the Fool is pure air. The Fool is that kind of innocent and naive character that is, tries to do something, right? Maybe we're the greenhorn. Maybe this is our first day on the job. We made a mistake. Okay, you know what? We're not going to overthink it. We're going to learn our lesson. We're going to get the bigger picture and think, you know what? This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Because the Fool is saying, we just started this. We're not experts yet. We don't know what we're doing yet. We have to go through, we have to make some mistakes. We have to learn from the process. We have to be able to see the bigger picture, which says, I'm learning at the correct pace, that I'm exactly where I would expect myself to be. This is us getting an objective viewpoint. If this was happening to a friend, I'd say, yeah, of course. You just started this. You're not going to be an expert at it. You're going to have to go through those learning experience. We're going to have to get knocked around a little bit. We're going to have to get thrown down on the mat and learn from that experience. And that's how we're going to grow. Okay, that's how we're going to get good at something. Of course, this Chariot card at the top is your higher purpose, your sense of kind of obligation or your sense of commitment. We have a 4 of Cups. There's the Hierophant. There's the teacher, right? Life is being the teacher here. We have a 10 of Pentacles, oh yeah. And we have a Prince of Cups. Okay, so we're trying to be very aware of ourselves. We're trying to be very tolerant with ourselves. We're loving ourselves, even though we make the mistakes and we're learning from those mistakes, and then we're sort of restructuring our mental framework, restructuring how I understand this situation, how I understand the work or the project or this job or this activity or this sport or whatever it is. But I'm not losing my confidence. I'm not losing my faith in myself. I'm not losing my authenticity. I love myself. I know that this is part of the path. I'm not getting down on myself. I'm not getting angry with myself. I'm not diminishing my own capacities. I'm not being cruel. I'm not getting upset with myself. I'm trying to be, I'm trying to fortify my heart here. And I think that's a very good thing. The Four of Cups in this position is a great energy. Because this is like, my heart is fine. My feelings are not getting hurt. And basically, we're not hurting our own feelings. We're learning from a master. And we're making some mistakes, of course. The Fool wants to become the Hierophant. Okay? This is the wisdom. The Fool is out here, has searched for a master. I want to learn. Please, let me learn from you. And what does the master do? Well, it kind of shows us where we need to learn more. Shows us where our insufficiencies are. Shows us where we don't have the answers that we need. Teaching us to ask the right questions, right? The one obstacle for you is this Eight of Swords, because that's the complexity. We want to keep it simple. Yeah. Let's select the mystery card, bonus card, confirmation card. This is a random card from the Smith-Waite Tarot. This is the factor infinite and unknown. We're going to set it down right here with Tiny Bob Ross right on top. We're not going to look at that happy little card until the very end. It will tie everything together, though. It will give us the confirmation that we need at the end of the reading. If at any moment during this message you feel like you might know what that card could be, put your prediction in the comments down below. Okay? Now, as we look around the room, we see 1, 2, 3 major arcana energies. We don't see any fire. We see a little bit of water. We see quite a bit of air. And we see our earth energy here. Okay? So a lot of air, because this is all about, how the events of your life right now are affecting how you think about things. Okay, so you're trying to do something. You've started something new. I don't know what it is. The Fool in the background. This is somebody that doesn't have a sense of direction, kind of just a feather in the wind. Just going here, going there, doing whatever. I feel like you've taken up a particular purpose. You've become the driver of the chariot. You said, there's something I want to do. There's something I'm committing myself to. I now have a sense of devotion. The Fool has kind of taken up a purpose, a mission. And that mission has led you into this particular situation where I don't know the answers. What I thought I knew, what I thought I was good at, is being challenged. Okay? What I believed about myself is being challenged, right? Because the Fool isn't really thinking that far ahead. The Fool just sort of goes into something and thinking, this will be fun. Well, it's actually kind of difficult, So this is a situation that's making you very aware of where you don't know things, right? It's sort of teaching you what you don't know. Teaching you where there are holes in your knowledge, where there are sort of weaknesses in your framework, or skills that you need to develop a little bit more sufficiently. Okay. And so the Fool is, and it's kind of a hit to the ego, right? The Fool kind of, it's almost like I don't want to say humiliation, because I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling like under normal circumstances, maybe the Fool then would feel humiliated, right? Because this is showing us like that we weren't as smart as we thought we were, But you're not going into this with some kind of bravado. We don't see this as like the lust card, or even the Emperor kind of walking in, or even the Hierophant, right? Walking into a situation thinking, I got this. This is easy. I'm going to ace this. Watch me take this test. Watch me get 100%. And then we take the test, and it's like, oh gosh, I got so many questions wrong, And then we kind of like, we're embarrassed, we're human. No, but that's not you. And maybe the Fool is walking into this. This is, you starting this class, taking this course, attempting to do this new job, learning a new skill, taking on a new sport, martial arts. Maybe this is you, starting something new anyway. Taking some kind of a test or an exam even. You're going into it not with any kind of bravado, but kind of as a blank slate, kind of thinking like, I don't know how good I'm going to do. I'm going to do my best. I'm not scared, but I'm not overly confident. Okay. kind of going into it without any kind of preconceived idea. I don't think I'm going to do well. I don't think I'm going to do poorly. I'm not even thinking like that. Okay. So I think you went into this really, I think, with a very fresh attitude. Kind of like, I don't know, it's like you're training to do something. Maybe let's say this is your first day jiu-jitsu class, right? You've never done jiu-jitsu before. You're walking in and you're just thinking, I don't know if I'm good at this or not. I've never done it before. And so that's kind of an innocence. That's saying like, if I go in and I just kick a bunch of butt, that's going to be great. Wow, that's cool. If I go in, I get thrown down on the mat over and over and over again, that's okay too, because I don't know if I'm any good at this, because I've never done it before. So it's kind of like with this card, we're not putting too many expectations on ourselves. And we don't care. I'm not going to be embarrassed if I fall down because I've never done it before. You know, it's like it's your first day ice skating. You're probably going to fall down. You're probably going to be a little wobbly at first, right? And that's okay. We're not worried about it, right? What we're going to do is we're going to learn. We're going to say, okay, well, gosh, yeah, I'm really understanding where I need to develop a little more balance, a little more skill. I need to try harder. I need to do certain other things. And we're getting taught a lesson, but I think in the best possible way. The thing about the Eight of Swords, though, is that it's overthinking it. And if we overthink this too much, I think this will lead to humiliation. It will lead to a demotivation. And we'll end up quitting. We'll end up convincing ourselves, oh, I'm not cut out for this. I've made too many mistakes. It's obvious now, like, I'm not meant to ice skate. I have no balance. My ankles are weak. I keep falling down. No, that's not for me. And we start convincing ourselves to stop. We talk ourselves out of it, right? But this is their quest. This is the second card of the spread that's saying, this is your battle. This is what's going to be hard for you. Not doing the work, not learning the lesson, and performing and getting good, getting better at something. What's going to be hard for you is to just not convince yourself to quit. You got to get over this overthinking. Yeah. We see down beneath the surface your Knight of Swords, which is kind of thinking the process through. It's like we're able to see the beginning of something, the middle and the end. So the Knights are always looking at the future. And the Knights are thinking, okay, things happen in stages. It's kind of like when the Fool wants to start jiu-jitsu. So the Knight of Swords comes in and thinks, okay, you start out as a complete novice. You haven't never even stepped foot in a gym before. You're going to start out at the lowest level, white belt. They're going to teach you all the simplest things. And then you're going to progress through the belts. There's the white belt, the gray belt, the blue and yellows and reds and whatever, and brown and purple and black and whatever. And whatever's beyond that, I don't know. But it's kind of like the Knight is able to think in those stages. I don't know how long each stage is going to take, but I know that each stage is going to kind of mark my progress, and there's kind of there's a linear way of looking at things. Okay? And when we have that, we're more likely to start something because it's like, I'm starting from where I am. I don't expect myself to be better than I am now. We have to start with who and what we are right at this moment. I'm not a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so I'm not walking into this situation expecting myself to perform like a black belt, because I'm not. Okay? So the Knights are always looking at the beginning of something and looking at sort of the short, medium, and long-term stages, okay? And in that sense, you're able to really understand, like, I'm making the mistakes that are quite appropriate for a person at my level. Now, the Queen of Pentacles is kind of processing the ending of something, looking back at something and understanding all these stages. Understanding how you are, in essence, going from the Fool to the Hierophant. And all the stages that get there. This is zero belt. This is I have no belt at all. This is the difficulty of, the first, getting the first belt. You got the white belt. This is no belt at all. I got the white belt. I'm making mistakes that a white belt would make. Maybe you're progressing a little bit faster than expected or a little bit slower than expected. It doesn't really matter. You're learning the lessons appropriate to your stage of the journey. As long as you don't overthink it or sabotage yourself by thinking, gosh, I'm making a bunch of white belt mistakes. I shouldn't be making white belt mistakes. Well, yeah, you should, because you're a white belt. Okay. So then the queen, when all this is said and done, the queen is going to look at the past and understand that you were right at the perfect stage. Some stages you went through faster, some stages you got through a little bit slower than expected, but you did things in the order that they're supposed to be done. And everything happened the way it was supposed to. Not necessarily saying, oh, everything happens for a reason. No, but I think if you were to talk to any hierophant, any master, and say like, what are some of the mistakes that people make when they're on the white belt level? And they'll be able to tell you, well, most white belts make these kinds of mistakes. And you're getting that kind of experience. You're getting that kind of knowledge. When you're in the moment, it may feel like, oh, I'm making all these mistakes. This is terrible. Maybe I'm no good at this. No, you're making more or less the same mistakes everybody makes. And that's exactly what's supposed to happen, okay? So I like that the queen is able to look back at that and confirm that, yeah, everything happened the way it was supposed to. Everything happened in a nice kind of linear way here, which is exactly what the knight is looking at the future and thinking, okay, I got to go through all the stages, white belt, gray belt, whatever the other belts are, all the way up to black belt, if that's how far you're going to go. Your devotion here with your Cancer energy, your chariot, is to have a thick skin. And this is perfect. You're somebody that isn't going to let these white belt mistakes get to you. Even when you're a brown belt and you make some white belt mistakes, that's okay too. That happens once in a while as well. Now you don't want to make that an everyday thing. But you've developed enough fortitude and kind of you've got your armor, you've got your thicker skin on. It says it's okay. I can make mistakes and I can get right back on the chariot and I can keep driving forward because there's a higher purpose here. You're in service to something that the ego is going to have to deal with. The wins and losses, the pluses and the minuses are going to be fine because you know that you're going up and to the right. You're making the right kind of progress over time. It's going to fluctuate on the way up. It's like the stock market in that way. Every day is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down. But it's generally going up and to the right. And that's the kind of progress. As long as I feel like I'm progressing through the grades or through the belts or through the stages, I know that I'm going to make more or less mistakes the same as everybody else, right? Relatively speaking. But this is the devotion to something that is it's kind of a higher purpose, and so the ego is able to understand. The ego doesn't like making mistakes, but the ego knows that, okay, it's par for the course, and that's okay. And I'm here for a higher purpose. I have a loyalty or a commitment to this. That's basically telling the ego that you got to be okay with some pluses and minuses along the way. So we talked about our Queen of Swords in that future position, and I feel like this is something where I don't know exactly what you're doing, but I feel like you are learning from somebody. There is a kind of teacher that is appearing either in your life now or that will be. Path of the Serpent. We're going to talk about these cards. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Your 3 or your 4, I should say, of Cups is your general energy. And this is that kind of emotional fortification. You're not somebody right now who gets their feelings hurt easily. Maybe back in the day you did. Maybe when you started this thing, because again, the Fool is in the past, right? So this might be something that you're kind of in the middle of now. Maybe you're not white belt anymore. Maybe you've gone through, maybe you're like a blue or green or whatever color belt. Maybe you're kind of in the middle of things, yeah? I think maybe you used to take things very personally. You used to get your feelings hurt when you'd make a mistake, thinking, I shouldn't be making mistakes. I'm better than this. I shouldn't be getting thrown down on the mat. Until I think you kind of realize that, wait, yeah, I should. One, that's how I learn. That's how I get better. And that's what's expected of me. No one expects that. We shouldn't expect it of ourselves, and no one in this situation is expecting it of you, for you to get everything right, for you to be flawless. You're supposed to be making mistakes and falling down because that means you're learning something. Okay? So I think if we have that Eight of Swords, it's going to lead to us getting our feelings hurt, and we're going to end up being very demotivated. We're going to feel guilty. We're going to feel embarrassed. We're going to feel ashamed, and we're going to leave. So I think that you've worked on kind of fortifying yourself so that you're not hurting your own feelings here. Okay? And so this to me feels like the right kind of emotional balance that can handle this sort of thing. Okay? And again, I don't think this came super easily to you. I think maybe at the beginning we did get our feelings hurt. We took things quite personally. Maybe we quit several times, but we've come back now and realized that I'm going to make mistakes and I need to make mistakes, and that's fine. I just don't want to overthink them, because that's when I'm going to start getting, upset. In your environment, you have your Hierophant. And this, I think, is somebody who is telling you what to do. Telling the Fool, do these moves a certain way. And when you don't do them the right way, they come in and they correct you. They say, no, you didn't do that right. You've got to take bigger steps. You've got to move your foot a different way. You got to balance your body in this particular thing. Or, kind of grading your paper and saying, okay, you got that math problem wrong, that one wrong, that one wrong, that one wrong, that one wrong. And that's okay. Maybe you got more wrong than other people. Maybe you got less wrong than other people. It doesn't matter. The idea is you got some things wrong, and that's where you need to focus your attention to get better. You're learning your lesson, okay? But we always have a little bit of rebellion against the teacher, okay? There's always that ego pride that kind of says, you shouldn't tell me what to do. Or, telling us that we're wrong. How do you accept that kind of criticism? I think the Fool is really the best card to have in this case, because the Fool is kind of the ideal student. Because the Fool's very impressionable, the Fool is a blank slate. It's kind of like, I don't know anything about this, so teach me. It's almost like, when you're going to start a martial art, it's kind of like your teacher is going to prefer that you don't have any experience at all. Give me somebody that's never practiced or tried to learn any martial arts at all ever. That person is going to be a blank slate. For that person, we don't have to unlearn any bad habits, you see. Give me somebody that's never done it before. They're easier to teach than somebody that's learned incorrectly, and now you've got to undo all that learning in order to learn the right way, you see. So going into something with a blank slate Fool energy is saying, I'm coming into this pretending I know zero, big fat zero. And that way, I don't have a lot to unlearn. Now, of course, no one is a pure Fool zero energy. We all have some kind of assumptions about how things should go or how to do certain things, because we have similar experiences. Even if you've never had a martial art class before, you still have some ideas about, what you're supposed to do or how things should go, right? It's impossible to be completely blank slate. But life will school you. Your teacher will school you. And I think that I think a lot of the friction comes from our assumptions versus the reality. And then there's friction. The teacher's telling you to do things a certain way, and you say, no, that's not how I do it. But who's the boss here, And so that makes us a more difficult student, because then our teacher has to undo a lot of our bad habits first. Anyway. So I feel like you're going into this without any of those bad habits, or as few as possible. In your fear, worry, concern position, that's the 10 of Pentacles. That's a card of perfection. And that might be our fear right now. We maybe are a bit of a perfectionist. We're trying to let that go a little bit. Maybe we want to be as good at this as we can be, and we do have standards for ourselves. When we take a math test, I don't want to get any answers wrong. Okay? But that might be a little bit of the ego saying, I want to be the best. I want to be perfect. I want to be flawless. This is somebody, I got every question right on the math test. It doesn't happen very often. Okay? We have to realize that I want this. If I don't get it, if I get 1 or 2 answers wrong, or if I get 100 answers wrong, that's okay. I'm going to be gentle with myself. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to forgive myself. I'm not going to quit. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to take it in stride. I'm going to learn. I'm going to do better. I'm going to sort of look at the notes that the teacher left. I'm going to figure out why I got those answers wrong and how I can not get them wrong next time. Okay? But I think that this kind of perfectionism is a good thing to have, and I think especially for a Capricorn. Like, you kind of want to get to the top of the mountain and you want to do it the best, you know. I think we still want that, and that's a good thing to want, right? You want to be the very best. You want to do everything as perfectly as you can. But when you don't, and you know that you won't, you know that you're going to not be flawless, right? Then you're okay with that. You're saying, okay, it's fine. I'm going to try. I'm going to try to be perfect. But I know that I won't achieve that perfection anytime soon, maybe not ever. And I'm going to be okay with that. And I'm going to learn from that. And I'm going to keep striving toward this. But I'm not going to beat myself up when it doesn't happen. The Prince of Cups here is that kind of authenticity. We're very much aware of who we are. I think you're aware that you maybe can get your feelings hurt when things don't go perfectly. And so you're fortifying yourself against that. You're ready for that. You're not getting disappointed in yourself, right? We're finding some emotional stability. You're forgiving yourself. You're loving yourself. Okay? And I think that you're going to continue this journey, and you're going to continue to learn more and more about whatever this is. And you're going to get as close as you possibly can to perfection, even when you're a black belt. The black belt, is still going to lose a match here and there. Maybe not as often as when you're a white belt. But even the absolute, even the Hierophant, even the absolute master, it's not perfect. It's not something that we can attain. I think when we strive for perfection, and we think, I'm going to get as close as I possibly humanly can to perfection, I think that we're intensely motivated, but we also keep our expectations, grounded in reality. I know I'm not going to be perfect. I know I'm going to make mistakes, and I'm going to have these so-called learning experiences in life. And those are blessings, Let's look at our mystery card. I want this to be a 9 of Pentacles or a 9 of Cups. Close to perfection, but always sort of working to improve. And, even the black belts of jiu-jitsu, they're in the gym. They're training. They're learning new things. They're getting failures. They're getting thrown down on the mat. They're getting learning experiences. It's a continuing process, so I think a 9 would be very appropriate. We have a 10 of Swords. The 10 of Swords can be that kind of self-betrayal. Okay? Because what it kind of says to me here is that if I don't get things exactly perfectly right, I'm out of here. If I go in and I'm not already immediately an expert, you've got no belt. You're 0 belt. You can't walk into the gym and expect to be perfect like a black belt. Black belts aren't perfect, though. But we can't expect that kind of perfection and say, the second I get, like, I'm so fragile that the second my imperfection shows, I'm quitting. We're going to end up stabbing ourselves in the back. We're going to end up breaking our own heart here. Okay? This card is a card of ruin. This is the card of saying that we're sort of missing the point, that we're removing any kind of value from this situation. Okay, if we are so attached to that kind of perfection, the 10 and the 10, right? And that's why this is in the position of kind of the obstacle, the fear, worry, and concern. I think we're getting over that. I think if we overthink things, we're sabotaging ourselves, we're stabbing ourselves in the back. This is a card of self-betrayal. Okay. The 10 of Swords is also the card of, the part of the worry being that we're going to get to the end of this road and we're not going to find any kind of satisfaction. That we're going to get all the way through to black belt and then we're going to find it to be a dry hole, a desiccated destination. And I think that if we, I think if we get through this, being attached to perfection and not being not being open to learn, if we sort of go against all the cards that we've talked about, yeah, this is going to be a worthless experience for you. Okay, it's kind of like we're just putting all the value in the perfection. That if I don't get the perfect 10, then the whole thing was for nothing. I think that's a very dangerous view to have, because it's very unlikely that you will get a perfect score. Okay, but these two cards are saying if I don't get a perfect score, then all of this was a waste of time. We don't want to think that way. Okay, so this card really is here showing up as the mystery card to say, don't sabotage this for yourself. Don't stab yourself in the back. Understand the stages that you go through. Understand all the learning experiences. It's, you're doing this thing. There's going to be pluses and minuses. Okay, and what we want is to just see progress. And we want to have a good time. We want to have fun doing it. But if we put all of our stakes or all of our satisfaction, we put all of our eggs in that perfect basket, and we think it's all or nothing. Then when we fail to be perfect, the whole experience is ruined for us. Let's not do that, okay? What we should do is an extended reading, and we'll do some I Ching hexagrams, we'll do some oracle cards. There is a link in the corner, there's a link down below in the video description, new readings for Capricorn, Tuesdays and Fridays. Be sure to watch both readings. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Leave a comment and let me know where in the world you are watching from. I want you to know that you're the most important part of Dove and Serpent Tarot. I thank you and I love you, and we are all in this together.